Hey there, it's Marion. Today I'm back with another EFT tapping video. In today's video, I'm going to be tapping for anxiety. I don't need to tell you that anxiety feels yuck. And maybe that's not your word for it, but you know what I mean. It doesn't feel good. It never really feels good. I don't think it ever feels good for anybody. That's my opinion. And the thing is with anxiety is that when we have anxiety, somehow, sometimes there's this urge to go deeper into it. Maybe we're not doing that on purpose, but we kind of get sucked into it and begin to listen to it. And it's full of fear and worry and everything else, right? But then it starts growing because one fearful thought leads to another and another. And the anxiety can start growing, kind of like a monster, a scary monster. Another thing about anxiety is that when anxiety is high, it means that cortisol is high. Cortisol is a wonderful hormone. It helps inflammation. We get, I've never had one, but, cortisone shots are meant to lower pain and inflammation. Cortisol is very important. However, when we're under a lot of stress and when anxiety is high, cortisol goes way high. And when it's high, it triggers the loss of blood from the thinking part of the brain, which means we can't think as clearly, and it's much harder to articulate what we want to say. And so I'm sure if you've ever been in a school as a child, most of us have, and some of us haven't, but just in imagining a child sitting in a classroom, and maybe that child is, a little bit daydreaming, like children do, and the teacher calls on the child, asks for the answer for a question, and the child kind of freezes with anxiety. So maybe it was because they were caught off guard. Maybe it's just the sound of the teacher's voice. Many reasons why anxiety might get triggered. But the thing is, the poor child then can't answer the question because the answer just, where is it? Where is it? I can't access that answer. Meanwhile, the kid next to this child raises his hand and says, I have the answer. And then the child says, wow, I knew that. I knew that answer. And so it's probably happened to you. I know it's happened to me, where in the heat of the moment, when anxiety is high, I just can't access my knowledge as well as I want to and can't say the things I want to say. So it's really important to understand the connection with cortisol, the connection with the brain, and what anxiety is really doing. Because a lot of us, I know from people I work with, from people in my family, all over the place, that there's a part of us sometimes that feels like it's good to be anxious. Well, if the world is what it is, then why wouldn't I feel anxious? Okay, got a point. However, left unchecked, it can grow again and go into all these scary ideas. And when we're in situations that are like they are in the world right now, we want our brain power. We want to be able to say the things that are important without getting sidetracked by anxiety. So those are my feelings about anxiety. And I believe, okay, acknowledge the anxiety. Feel the anxiety. And then do some tapping to help it release. So EFT tapping If you need more information about it, by the way, there's a link in the description box where you can find resources on my website that will show you how to use it and the points. But continuing on, EFT tapping and why it's so good for anxiety is because it helps to reduce cortisol and it helps to calm the nervous system. And it's really a great tool for just really lowering that intensity so that the blood comes back to the thinking part of the brain and we can articulate beautifully and we can say what we mean and we can think in the most creative, beautiful way possible. So before we start the tapping round, just to note that this point on the side of the hand, tapping here, breathing deeply, is enough to begin to lower cortisol. And you don't have to say any words. Just tune in to that anxiety. Start tapping on the side of your hand, breathing deeply. The breath will turn on the relaxation response. The tapping will help bring down the cortisol, calm the nervous system. And I know that this works. It looks so simple, but I've passed it along to family members who've used it in tight situations, to people in classes that I've taught, to clients. I've used it myself, and so it's worth a try. So let's get into the tapping round now. Now, tune in to the way that you feel and tune into any anxiety that you might be feeling right now. Or think of something that provokes anxiety, or come back to this when you're feeling anxious. So tune in to that anxiety. And just notice the intensity, notice where it is in your body. And let's get started. So starting with the side of your hand. Even though I feel all this anxiety, and it's really hard not to be anxious right now. Why wouldn't I be anxious? There's so much wrong. And even though I feel all this anxiety, I accept myself and how I feel. All this anxiety, it makes me feel kind of tight and restricted. It's hard to say what I want to say. Sometimes I freeze when I feel anxious. And even though I feel this anxiety, I accept myself completely. All this anxiety. Sometimes I don't think I can let go. Sometimes I feel like it's holding on to me. And even though I feel all this anxiety in my body, I accept myself and how I feel. There's so much to be anxious about. And the more that I look, there's more to be anxious about. With everything going on, I could be anxious all the time. And sometimes it feels like I am. But the anxiety is getting in my way. I need to feel more free. I'd love to feel more relaxed. I'd love to just step into my creative flow. With all this anxiety, that's hard to do. What if I could let go of just a little? What if all this worry and anxiety isn't helping anything? I know I have reasons to feel anxious. But what if I could let go anyway? What if I could notice how I feel and acknowledge how I feel and let go? I don't need this anxiety. I feel so much better when I let it go. What if I could just let it go? So I can think clearly and say what I want to say and relax. Okay, now take a nice deep breath and notice how you feel. Tune in to whatever's going on. Notice what happened with the anxiety. And let's do a little bit more tapping. So go back up to the eyebrow point. All the anxiety. I'm ready to begin letting it go. I'm ready to let it all go. It just gets in my way. It's time to breathe. It's time to relax. It's time to feel peaceful. Letting go of this anxiety so I can think more clearly, so I can speak more clearly, so I can access my creative flow. I'm letting go. I can always find more if I want it. But right now, I'm letting go. It feels good to let go. And relax. Take another deep breath. And tune in. And if you feel any residual anxiety, just continue with the tapping. You don't have to say any words, or just tap on the side of your hand and really focus on breathing deeply as you're tapping on the side of your hand. And, remember, it's okay to feel anxious. It doesn't feel good, but just notice the anxiety and then take care of yourself and do what helps for you. There's so many things that can help anxiety. Tapping is a great tool. Breathing is a great tool. Yoga and walking in nature and an acupressure mat. There are many ways to help reduce cortisol and encourage the relaxation response. And just let go. Thank you for watching. Goodbye for now.